Hi, everyone, and welcome to Foundation for Blind Children's episode of the Insight Talk Show. Today, I have with me Mary Wilson, Family Support Counselor, and we are going to talk a little bit today about emotional well-being during COVID-19. So before we begin, Mary, can you just tell me a little bit about what you do at FBC?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm typically the first call. So when we get a referral from someone, the call will come to me and I'll respond to those families from birth all the way up to 103. So I get to do really different things depending on the family, the situation, but it's just to know that you're not alone through this process and the FBC is here to support you.
Oh, Mary, that sounds like a great role. I love that. So what we want to talk about today is how to cope in a healthy way. So regardless of our situation right now, all of us are feeling some level of stress, anxiety, fear, frustration, all of those different emotions. So where do we start? What do we do first?
Gosh, and this is so hard. And I'm not going to probably say anything that people don't already know, but just more as a reminder to reflect. But one of the things that I think is most difficult right now is we don't know how long this is going to last.
Mm-hmm.
And so when things are so out of our control, brings the anxiety, brings the fear. So what we're trying to learn to do is being comfortable and tolerate uncertainty. So I've been thinking and talking about this being a movie, and we don't know if the movie is going to be 2 hours or 3 hours, or if it's going to be a sequel.
I love that analogy. That is great. Yes.
So anyways, but we're all working extra hard right now just to manage our emotions. So what we need to do is try to set a foundation. And so one of the things that can be helpful, whether it's a mental list or a written list, is to come up with the things that we have control over and the things that we don't have control over right now. And if we can focus on the things that we do have control over, that is going to create more of that sense of control that makes us feel so uncomfortable. So the first thing in doing that would be to stay connected. And I know FBC, we're trying to do so many things to keep parents connected, to keep the kids connected, the adults that are in our program. And so we want to stay connected to family, anyone that we feel is a good support. It's more difficult to stay connected, but there are many ways to do it. And so again, FBC is having ways to stay connected. One of the great ways family can stay connected is through our Facebook, where you can share information, get ideas, get strategies, make phone calls, send texts. Sometimes the best way we can help ourselves is to reach out to other people. So try to create new routines. And I know, again, that may sound simple, but it's not easy. But if we can look at things like our nutrition and have regular eating meals, if we can look at our sleep, so important for our kids, and exercise, whether you're exercising in your home. Fortunately, our weather's still nice to go out for a walk. And so sometimes it's important to do those things alone, but it's all going to be something that the whole family can benefit from. So we really want to look at new routines, even though I know that's not easy.
So speaking of that, Mary, what can we do for self-care? So if we're going to start that, starting with us, making our lists, getting a routine, staying connected, what can we do to help us first?
Mm-hmm. Well, first and foremost, we have to shift our perspectives. And I know that's really hard, but in order to have self-care, we need to know that we need to be compassionate to ourselves. And so that's really the first step, is having forgiveness, is really looking at what our expectations are. Right now, to lower those expectations is okay. So many of us are being the parent, the teacher. So many of our families are the therapists now that things are so virtual. There's so many different pressures that we're putting on ourselves that we know that our intentions are great, and we need to do the best we can with what we have to work with. Right now, some of the strategies that are helpful is, doing something with your hands. hands are so important when we're talking about stress. I know, Jamie, you were just sharing that you do needlepoint.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you can do to create something, to work and move that energy out. One of the new ideas I just heard of was coming up with a pandemic memory jar.
Oh.
And we were having a chat on our Facebook the other day, and one of the parents shared one of our parents shared that our kids aren't going to remember the pandemic, but what they are going to remember is the time with us and the feeling that came along with it. So the pandemic jar, I thought, was a great way to put those memories in so that one day you'll go back and you'll reflect not only as a parent, but as a family. Listening to a podcast or an audiobook, that's something that you can do while you're in the home, whether you're engaged or you're taking a break. And so the whole idea is to either focus on something, whether it be meditation, whether it may be something that you're learning, or a total escape. So there's different reasons that we might use different podcasts. I'll talk about some techniques later. But again, it's just trying to get your mind off of what's in the moment and try to escape or focus. The other thing, again, is take walks. I've been trying to take a walk every single day, even when I don't want to. And it's probably the thing when I go to bed at night that I'm most grateful for. So the other thing is just taking a warm shower, or now that it's getting warmer, maybe a cold shower, getting dressed, putting makeup on. You know,
Yeah,
I have
get out
not,
of my pajamas.
oh my gosh, and I have not been doing that, but it truly shifts your mood, or it can shift your mood just on the way that you are able to get yourself ready. And again, that goes within the whole self-care.
I like that, either choosing a focus or an escape, but
Yeah.
following some of that routine that you talked about earlier, taking a shower, getting dressed, going for a walk, making sure we're engaging in something. So yeah, cool.
Exactly.
Those are great ideas. So I know you mentioned a little bit about parenting a minute ago, and how children are going to remember how it felt, not necessarily all of the things that we tried to do and be these perfect parents, but parenting is hard. It's just hard in general. And what can we do when we can't take a break? We can't necessarily, leave our children with a babysitter or a respite care provider or their family. They're not getting out of the house. We're not getting out of the house. So how can we manage some of those challenges that come along with parenting literally 24/7?
Well, it is. And, that's a topic that we talk about all the time with parents, because even without a pandemic, it's just so difficult. So again, I want to talk about some things. They're not all going to work. They're not going to all apply for us. But these are some of the things that I want to mention that you can try. And again, by staying connected on our Facebook or talking with other families, really share your strategies that you're finding with each other to build our toolbox. So a couple things is breath work. And it may be as simple as breathing in for 4 counts and
I'm
then
going to do it with you, Mary.
exhaling
I'm going to breathe
for
in
4.
with you. Okay, let's do
Okay.
it together.
So breathe
Everybody
in.
watching, let's just take a minute and breathe.
So in
Mary,
for
walk
4
us through.
and then out for 4. And
It
then in for
does.
4 and now out for 6. And then in for 4 and out for 8. So by doing that, that exhale is the piece that's really going to help us calm.
That is a great technique. Oh, I'm going to have to remember that one. I feel so relaxed already.
There's another one, and it's one that I wasn't familiar with, and then I've recently heard about it from you, Jamie, and my kids could not believe I had never heard about it before. But it's called the 5-4-3-2-1. And so what that means is, if you're in a moment of anxiety, if you're angry, if your kids are just driving you crazy, one of the things that you can try to do is find 5 things that you can see. Now, I understand some people may not have vision or limited vision, so you may want to think of an image. but 5 things. And for those people that have vision, if you can make it specific, like I see the yellow flower in my yard, or I see the cup of milk that has chocolate in it. So think of 5 things that you can see.
Okay.
Then you're going to do 4 things that you can hear. And this can be really hard, especially if you're in an environment where it's hard to hear things. So it may be subtle as your breath. It may be how the lights are making a little noise. It could be screaming kids, your yelling husband, but 4 things that you can hear. And then you're going to do 3 different things that you can smell. Again, those smells may be very obvious, or it may be things that are very subtle. So even if you're smelling your clothes, if you're smelling an odor in the house, maybe you have bad breath. 3 things that you can smell. And then touch. So what we're doing is we're using all of our different senses in order to center ourselves. So the touch is so important, and it may be touching something that feels very soft, something that you're touching that's very bumpy. There could be so many different things, but touch, it may just be touching your own hands. Right now, my hands feel cold, so touch. And then the last thing is taste. So something that you can taste. Now, you may not have gum in your mouth, you may have not just eaten. So if you can't think of something or you're not tasting something, maybe one of your favorite things that you've tasted before.
Chocolate.
So that's called, there you go. So that's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And then there's a few apps that I wanted to mention that are free that I have recently been introduced to that I really love. One is called Headspace, and one is called Calm. And again, for people that maybe want to meditate, want to try to center themselves, but have a hard time doing it, both of these apps are going to help you learn how to be able to do it. Again, it's something to focus in on. Another app might be to distract or to just do something that doesn't take any thought. And so 2 that I use, one is Solitaire, love Solitaire. I use that to kind of wind down. And the other app that I've been introduced to is TikTok. So I'm not promoting TikTok, but it's something that I can go onto. It makes me laugh. It makes me think of creative things that I can do, even though I haven't made one yet. But again, are we trying to focus or are we trying to escape?
I'll have to look at those. I haven't heard that last one before. So later I will go do that. So speaking of parenting and how hard it is, we're also, for many of us, are spending 24/7 with our spouses or our partners or significant others. And sometimes that's difficult. We're both parents working from home or always being in the house. How do we navigate that challenge?
Gosh. And again, I'm going to talk to you as just, being human, being married. It's really hard because everybody's marriage goes through different seasons. And I hope that you can appreciate what that means. Some seasons are beautiful, others can be cold and difficult. So coming into this pandemic, it's hard because every marriage is at a different place coming in. So, for this, there may be some marriages that have been strained to begin with. So it may be an important time to maybe connect to a professional. But for that marriage, that this is just a trying time, obviously communication is so important. And I want to go back to that expectation. If you can have expectations that you can share and talk about things, you're going to be able to help each other as partners, especially when it comes to taking a break, to taking 30 minutes. And again, it may sound easy, but you may have to set a timer so that you know that one of you in the morning and then one of you in the evening will get an opportunity to have a break. The other thing is, again, I don't know if you're familiar, Jamie, are you familiar with the love languages?
Yes, the
five
five
love languages. And this could be a very convenient time for you to not necessarily read the book, but just go and look at some YouTube. But if you and your husband can learn how you're fed, what types of things that you are important to you. And so one of them is touch and affection. And so for some people, that's very important. For other people, they don't want to be touched. They don't need that affection.
Mm-hmm.
Again, no one's right or wrong. It's just how they're fed. Another one is acts of service. So it may be, you know, your partner leaves things around and one day you decide to just tidy up their shoes. It doesn't have to be anything huge, but if that's how they're fed and you know that, those acts of service can be their love language. There's gifts, there's quality time. So that may be if you know that your wife or your husband or your partner really loves quality time, that again, going back to those bedtime routines, you know, make it a point to get up before your kids. Make it a point to go to bed or to have your kids go to bed and then have that quality time together, whether it's a cup of coffee, whether it's rubbing someone's feet. You know, those are the things that you're going to need to get creative with, but you need to learn what their love language is. So those are just some ideas. Even if you don't know the love language, those are ways to connect. And I'll talk a little bit more about gratitude and kindness, but truly those things can go a long way. You don't do that with the anticipation that you're also going to receive it. But those are actually ways to build that intimacy, to build those relationships.
And a great chance to binge watch every show you've ever wanted to, but couldn't before.
Absolutely. What is your binge show right now?
Oh, well, we're trying to find another one. So I think we're going to start with the Jack Ryan series because we never watched that one. So I think that's the next one. We've gone through all the Marvel. So we'll
But you
see.
know, that
We
is
need a new one.
and that's so true, because I know when we find a show to binge watch on, we can't wait. And we'll even sometimes stay up a little bit later because we want one more. But that's something that my husband and I have really connected on. So again, when you feel that connection, those are the things that you have control over and you want to do more of.
I think that's key. You're right. Just that connection. Like, oh, yay, I love my children, but now they're sleeping. So we can watch something without animation and singing.
Exactly.
I think lots of people can relate to that. So just a second ago, you did mention gratitude and the purpose of gratitude. Can you just share on what you mean by gratitude and how that applies to us when it's kind of hard to be grateful during this time?
Absolutely. And it's really training ourselves to do this. And it's something that we also want to do with our families because, again, there's so many things that aren't going well. It's finding those things that are so that we can build on that. And gratitude affects so many things. It affects our endorphins, it helps us shift perspectives. So even if you went on and Googled gratitude, it will be amazing for those people that aren't familiar with it, how many benefits we get physically, physiologically, emotionally, mentally. But first, again, you have to be kind to yourself. It's so hard to be kind to other people when we're not being kind to ourselves. And if I'm having a bad day, I think, what would I tell someone else that was saying these same things to me? And so that's sometimes what we can do to learn how to do that for ourselves. Helping others. Helping others can help create a purpose in our day. Now, I'm not just talking about our kids, our husbands, those people that we're constantly helping, but maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe it's just calling and reaching out and saying, I've been thinking about you. Maybe it's a friend that you haven't talked to for a long time. But again, a lot of times when we're helping other people, what we're doing in return is helping ourselves. So again, it just builds on itself. And the best thing you can do is just express sincere gratitude, you know, whether it's to someone, to yourself. I was talking, we were conversing on Facebook the other day, and I was asking families to share, you know, a parent tip or something that they're grateful for. And again, if we have those conversations with other people, it will help us be more aware of, gosh, I take something for granted all the time. And again, I need to focus on that because that's something that I have control over.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate you joining us today. I think a great takeaway is to either focus or escape, and focus on something good or something we can do, or just escape this reality a little bit, however that looks for us.
Exactly. And I have something that I wanted to share that I saw the other day. It may sound a little cheesy, but I really liked it. And it was, when you're struggling, just place your hands on your heart and just soothe it for a minute, saying, may I find peace. And I think that's what we're all looking for, is for peace. So this was great. I wish it was a more upbeat, funny type of presentation, but if you can just take maybe a little bit of what you heard today and apply it to your life, it's a starting place. So thank you. No, I'm here, whether you want to chat, there's ways to get in touch with me online, but FBC is here with you at this time. So thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Mary. And thanks to all of our listeners today. Like Mary said, may you find some peace in all of this. Your FBC family is here for you. We hope you stay healthy. We hope you stay safe. Mary is here for you. Mary is great. FBC, you can visit our website. And I hope you join in next time when we talk to Casey Markowski about positive behavior support, which kind of lends in a little bit to our conversation today. So
yes,
thanks, everybody, and we will see you next time. Thank you, Mary.
take care.
Thanks.